Hello and welcome back, and today I want to continue talking about Asustor. Today I want to talk about the brand new LockerStor 4. Now, of all the 4 bays that I talked about in 2020, this is the one that caught me by surprise. The majority of the NAS hardware that we see every couple of years is a bit samey. And I know that seems a bit of a dick thing to say, but there's no avoiding it that a lot of the solutions we see every couple of years follows a certain trend. A new unit will come out and you'll go, well, a lot of it's new hardware, but it's basically like the old one with a few extra bells and whistles, and they stop making the old one and the new one comes along and the cycle repeats itself. So occasionally, and particularly 2020, I have seen a lot of solutions really breaking the mold, and this one is probably the biggest mold breaker I've seen so far. This 4-bay, the LockerStor 4, or the AS6604T if you want to be technical about it, it is a kind of combination of a lot of the things that we see other brands do right now into one solution. It's got a number of the key buying points from Synology and from QNAP, but takes them from different things and combines them into this 4-bay. Now, it arrives at about 560 to 580 Nika, so, and that includes tax. So it's not like a budget solution. It's not a top tier solution either. It is a great middle ground. And now that sounds a bit condescending, it sounds a bit negative, but it really isn't, because this device manages to find a line for your investment that I've seen nowhere near as good from any other device over the last 5 years. It provides a great level of software without compromising the hardware. In previous units I've talked about before, Synology prioritize the hell out of their software. It is the best software. Okay, let's be realistic about it. It's incredible, but that takes up 60-70% of the budget of the device, and the ultimate output is that solution will always have ever so slightly questionable hardware for a number of you out there looking to invest in hardware. QNAP, on the other hand, have got pretty good software, pretty damn good software, but there's no avoiding it. When you buy the QNAP 4-bay equivalent to this, the 453D, that it's leveraging hardware more than software. The LockerStor 4 finds probably what I think to be the best middle ground in terms of hardware and software, arriving with some, for example, the Intel Celeron J4125, which is a quad-core 2.0 GHz CPU that can be burst up to 2.7, and that CPU, 64-bit x86 in architecture, 4K transcoding, virtual machine use, transcoding engine with UHD Graphics 600, a great floating point, support of DDR4 memory with 4 GB by default, a 2400 MHz memory that can be upgraded to 8 GB officially. It also has 2 NVMe SSD bays inside for caching, so you've got the option to upgrade the system's internal performance in its lifespan. And on the rear of the device, we have got 2.5 GBE, 2 of them. So again, up to 250 megabytes per port, or 500 if you link aggregate them with supported switch or ports on your system. You can even add 2.5 GBE and 5 GBE adapters here, or if you run a PC system, or I believe Mac as well now, you can use the Asustor 2.5 to USB adapter and 5 GBE to USB adapter, connect your PC to this device via one of those ports there, or vice versa the other way around, and utilize it for photo editing, low-level video editing, gaming, having a Steam library on this device, thereby freeing up space on your internal SSDs. And also, if you do run a gaming platform on this device, you can use those 2 NVMe SSD bays inside and leverage the speed, performance, and high IOPS and endurance of those SSDs against the more affordable, larger capacity hard drives in your RAID array. And again, all of that running internally with support of its own surveillance platform, with surveillance station, surveillance center, with support of its own, with their own third-party VirtualBox support of virtual machines. They've got their own backup software from NAS to NAS, NAS to USB, NAS to cloud. It's got support of BTRFS with file self-healing, quicker background shared folder duplication, support of easier low resource intensive snapshots there in the background. On top of that, multiple tiers of RAID support, either within one giant storage pool with multiple volumes, or attach multiple drives into different storage arrangements and then provide the benefits of SSD caching when you need them to those areas. On top of that, the device arrives with support of HDMI 2.0 here, which means 60 frames per second 4K direct output. So you can watch all of your high-end 4K and not have to worry about transcoding on your TVs, because you can directly output and then use a network remote control, there's lots of them for free, or a Bluetooth remote control, or a KVM setup, keyboard, video, mouse, for things like surveillance, running that VM VirtualBox, running an emulated arcade server with RetroArch and MAME and stuff like that. This is a very, very functional NAS device. On top of that, it arrives with 3 years of manufacturer's warranty and that whole host of software all included. ADM, in its latest revision, arrives with a kind of gamer-themed stylized GUI, but you can change that in a number of ways. On top of that, there's all the mobile apps as well, which, although none of this software is quite reaching the heights of Synology because they invest so much of your budget in the software, it still gives you a very, very capable platform indeed. That 50-50 thing, hardware v software. And if you're going to use a lot of your third-party apps rather than the apps that your unit arrives with, this could be a very, very solid solution for you. Now, a lot of the things I've talked about today are available from QNAP and Synology on their flagship 4-bays, the TS453D and the 920 Plus. But once again, those devices will ask you to leverage 60-70% towards software or hardware. Very few of them will give you the 50-50 split of the LockerStor 4. Now, it's not all good. There are some things about this that I just don't like. First and foremost, I know a number of you out there will not like the full metal chassis on this, and that goes all the way down to the trays as well. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of you that have heard me talk about a metal chassis and metal trays and thought, ooh, rugged, even spring-loaded trays at that. And you're right, this is a very rugged design. You do feel it's very, very solid as a solution. You are getting a very quality-built product. But if you use enterprise-grade hard drives like the latest 16 TB Seagate Isleworths or even the 18 TBs around the corner, they are going to produce a lot of clicks and whirs and hums, which metal only amplifies. And if you're going to be in close proximity to this device, utilizing those 2.5 GBEs or 5 GBE, that noise might get annoying. Now, again, this is a small minority of people I'm talking about, but it would be remiss of me not to touch on it. The other thing about it I'm less enthused about, and this again is a very minor point, is ventilation. This device is going to be on for 24/7. We've got lots of ventilation there across the trays. All the trays have built-in ventilation. There's even ventilation based all the way around the area of storage there. But with regard to the external chassis, that side panel you see there is the only area of ventilation really in terms of passive ventilation. So there's that strip there and the areas around the trays there at the front. The other side doesn't have any, the top doesn't have any, the base doesn't have any. The rear, of course, has that large fan there that keeps things lovely and cool inside. And that fan can be set automatically or manually as you so choose. But I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more ventilation, especially on a metal chassis. Now, there is an argument against that the metal will work as a means of dissipating heat a lot more than those plastic chassis maintain the heat inside. And that's why a lot of plastic chassis will have a lot of ventilation, because the heat does a lot of help towards getting rid of the heat, well, not just the heat sinks on the internal bits and bobs. But I still just feel there could have been a lot more ventilation there on that chassis. Now, we've got the LCD panel there on the front, which I absolutely love with those big operational buttons. And I know a number of you never use the LCD. I do. It's a lot quicker. You've got that USB copy button there for a nice, easy backup strategy, adding another tier to your backup at the end of the day, either at the end of your shoot or backing up the NAS, so you can back it up one way or the other, taking advantage of one-way sync, two-way sync, differential backups and time-managed backups, all at the touch of a button, which is pretty sweet if you ask me. And again, you can run this device on a single drive if you want, or fully populate it. There's a lot of flexibility towards this device. The memory can be upgraded, the NVMEs can be upgraded, but it is worth highlighting that upgrading the memory and the NVMEs on this is a little trickier than most. The NVMEs is a two-sided PCB at the top that you have to remove, put the NVMEs on and reattach it. They are PCIe Gen 3x4, so you do get a lot of performance out of those NVMEs, but I would still argue that it's not the most user-friendly means of upgrading it in that way. It's a little bit more techy than some of us would like, but it's not that techy. It's pretty straightforward. do check out the review from NAS Compares below, where we've taken it apart a little bit and have a look at those PCBs. But these are all very, very minor points overall. I like the design of this chassis. I think it's a very, very robust solution, and certainly as a 4-bay desktop, you do kind of feel like you're getting your money, not just internally, but externally as well. We've got loads of LEDs that we controlled with regards to system access, drive health, network activity, even individual LEDs for each drive that denote whether there's activity on the drive or if it is reporting a problem. And I love any NAS that's got an LCD panel built into the front. I think that's wildly wildly overlooked even as a feature. And support of 2.5 GBE, they were one of the first brands with the Nimbustor 4 to get on board with 2.5 GBE, and look at it now, 18 months later, pretty much everyone's getting on that now, so well done Asustor for getting there first. I would argue that maybe some users would have liked the 10G option or the ability to add a 10 GBE port. I do think this area here inside is quite close to where the NVMe slot is, so you get the impression the PCIe connector there, which may have been available in previous generations to add a 10G card, is now used for that NVMe's. So they have kind of given a bit of a preference there towards internal operations rather than external. But remember, you've still got 250, 500 meg possibilities there built into the back, depending on your storage media. But this has been the LockerStor 4. Definitely a contender for one of my favourite 4-bays of the year. And I cannot wait to compare it against the 920 and the 453D. Is there anything you guys want to learn about this? I will have the software overview for this and a bunch of video tests coming very, very soon. So they should be linked to in the description. But if there's anything specific you want to see in those videos, do let me know in the comments. But otherwise, if you have enjoyed this video, click like. If you want to learn more, click subscribe. And do visit the guys at span.com to help you out with your storage needs. And read the review from NAS Compares in the description. I will see you next time.